Welcome to the Veterans Voice, where we highlight programs and services that support our veterans. I'm your host, Tim Stroud. Many of our Korean and Vietnam War era veterans experience health issues related to both their service and their age. In addition, younger veterans are returning home with chronic health conditions and or disabilities related to their service. This means more family members taking on the role of care partner. Quindola Crowley, Chief of Social Work Service at the Houston VA, that's Michael E. DeBakey, joins us today. Welcome, Dr. Crowley.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Good to see you again. I love your smile, love your energy, and I love what you're doing in Houston for our veterans, their family members, and their care providers. So let's dive right in today. What are some of the challenges facing our senior veterans?
Well, we've got quite a few challenges facing our senior veterans. And before I dive in, I just wanted to say thank you for having me. I wanted to point out that it's Social Work Month, and as the Chief of Social Work at the Houston Healthcare System, Michael E. DeBakey VA, I wanted to let you know that our social workers cover a variety of services, and we touch the veteran at every tip of the spear on the continuum of healthcare. And having said that, with our elder vets and those that are returning now, those that are dealing with those special healthcare needs, as you just described, our Korean vets, our Vietnam era vets, and current veterans that are needing caregivers. We have a program called the Caregiver Support Program. That program covers what we call general caregivers, and then there are some caregivers that have stipends that help pay them to care for their veteran, for their loved one. And those programs are provided to ensure that the veteran has the care that they need. There's are also other programs like Veterans Directed Care that helps pay for caregiving to come into the home to pay for, and those veterans and their primary caregiver could be their spouse or children or a significant other will help them pick out a caregiver and pay them. They select that caregiver themselves, and then the VA partners with some community providers, and they will help pay for those caregivers to come into the home. So
I love
there are a multitude of programs that actually come into the home to help care for our veterans.
And thank you so much for sharing that. I mean, the VA's had a paradigm shift from the time that our Vietnam veterans actually got back from theater, put boots on the ground, to today. I mean, 50 plus years later. And talking to Frank and your leadership team at Michael E. DeBakey, you do everything from clipped toenails to organ transplants. But let's narrow in on the resources, what the VA has for geriatric health and wellness, into addition what you just spoke about.
Well, in addition to that, our goal is to keep the veterans home. And so we're looking at some additional programs, nursing home to home, which is a program that we're currently working on. We're assessing those veterans that may not really need the nursing home level of care, and trying to bring those veterans back into their home like setting. And it could be a personal care home. They actually may be able to move back home with their family members, even their spouse, if they were at one time living at home with their spouse, but for some reason their care took them into a nursing home, and it seems that they may have to be there indefinitely. They may be at a point now where they can actually return home. And because we have these other programs in place, we're able to facilitate getting them back home, ensuring that they have still the caregiving that they need that comes into the home to support that, so that there are no gaps, that they're able to remain at home with the care that they need.
And Dr. Crowley, you know firsthand that veterans were a different breed. And once you've gotten them well and they're back home, they want to work no matter what their age is. So, what is the VA doing to assist with employment and the training goals?
Well, with regards to employment and training goals, we have several different programs. There's our TWI program. There are, Voc Rehab. There's several different programs that allow veterans that assist them with addressing what are their work capabilities in terms of physical capability, and then assisting our veterans, especially those that are coming back off active duty, if they are, first assessing their physical ability and then looking at translating that level of expertise to the community, and or changing that job. So how do you change a infantry guy into, how does that translate into something out in the workforce? Maybe he wants to now become a nurse or a dental technician, or so Voc Rehab will help cover that. Now the VA hospital will assist with, of course, assessing any of the health level needs and medical needs to address that, and then Voc Rehab works with them. Um, Now, I would like to point out we just opened our Community Resource and Referral Center. That
Okay.
is our first point of entry for our homeless veterans. But that location there on Webster Street offers our veterans uh, the opportunity to walk in the door who may have, of course, homelessness insecurities, food insecurities, come in, get the resources they need to look for jobs. There are community partners there. We have Social Security that comes in maybe once, twice a month. We have someone from the state to assist them with signing up for SNAP benefits. We also will start their application for permanent housing, assess for that, and then they can get a shower, change clothes, get their clothes washed. So I don't know if you were there for the grand opening, weren't
Well, the
you?
ribbon cutting was last week, right?
Yes,
I
yes, you were
just missed
there
it.
for.
I visited the
So
location, but I missed the ribbon cutting because I was actually at the VA for an upcoming appointment.
okay, so we missed you, but
I know on that one.
uh,
And so we don't want to miss anyone else. We've got about a minute left in our segment. And where can more veterans, family members, and care providers go for information on everything that we've spoken about today?
anything that you're interested in with regards to the VA, just call that 713 number, 791-1414. Ask for social work service. Okay. If you ask for social work service, you want to talk with caregiver support, you want to talk with us about any of our services, you can ask for me directly. I will ensure that you get to the right place. I'm a veteran, the daughter of a veteran, and the mother of a veteran.
Woo!
So I will make sure that you get taken care of.
After the break, we'll learn about a launch pad for veterans.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
My dad was my hero. I wanted to do something to help people just like he did. A few years ago, he was diagnosed with cancer from doing search and recovery at Ground Zero in the aftermath of 9/11. I was holding his hand when he took his last breath. I didn't want to let him go. First Responders Children's Foundation gave me a scholarship that changed my life. I wanted my dad to be proud of me. I'm a nurse now.
Help first responders and their families.
Welcome back to the Veterans Voice. Houston is nicknamed the Space City, but NASA isn't the only place in Houston with a launch pad. We're joined today by Deirdre Gilbert, and she's the office administrator for the Houston Launch Pad. Good afternoon. How are you?
Hi, how are you? I'm doing wonderful.
Unbelievable. And I have references, but one of them is a dog. So we'll just have to go with that one. I'm really interested in your program because you have so many different services to help out veterans as they make the transition. And one of the qualifying questions for veterans is when they see a program, it may not be brand new, but it's new to them if they don't know about it. And they need to know if they qualify for this program. And so, how do veterans enroll and who qualifies for the HVRP program?
Well, actually, it's called the Homeless Veterans Reintegration Program. It's been around for quite a long time. We've actually had this grant for probably the last 13 years. And so basically, we find our veterans where veterans congregate. So whether it's at the VA or whether it was at a breakfast or out in the field, or literally on the street. We've also dealt with incarcerated veterans. So wherever we can find a veteran, that particular veteran we look at. Now, the qualifications depend on basically several things, whether or not they're living in a home, how long they've been in a home, what is their income, and that is what we look at. And their DD 214. So did they at least do 1 day of active duty? If they've done 1 day of active duty, then we look at all of those crimes. And guess what? We're like, come on, criteria for getting those veterans. Now, to find us is basically we have an outreach specialist. I go out. We've partnered with several agencies across the city and the state so that we can get those veterans into our program.
That's perfect. And let's talk about those programs, Miss Gilbert, because a lot of veterans, they're watching right now and they're pen and paper, they're writing them down. So what can you offer those veterans?
Well, first thing is our main goal is employment. So we're not an employment service per se, but we get people calling us all the time looking for veterans to fill positions. So that's our main goal. But what else do we have? We have things like gas cards, bus passes. We pay for training, depending on what that training is. Let's say you want to be an entrepreneur. We've helped with that, paying for certifications and all of those things that are needed for that particular veteran. So the first thing we do is we do an IEP, so an individualized employment plan. Let's see what that particular person needs, and that's what we do. So whether it's gas cards, whether it's a bus pass, whether it's food, clothing, whatever it is that particular person needs. If it is, they might need equipment, we will pay for that as well. So those are some of the things that we provide for that particular veteran. So it just really depends on what that veteran needs.
I love it. So this isn't a blanket and just like it's going to cover everybody. It's individualized, like a quilt, if you will,
Yes.
because I think that's one of the things that we take for granted is that when we have an operating vehicle, we're like, oh yeah, I'll just jump in my vehicle and go to South Houston for a food drive, or I'll go to a veterans fair at Minute Maid Park or to the new center that the VA just opened. But if your battery's not working or you don't have gas in your vehicle, what do? Well, if you're a disabled veteran and you've registered with the city of Houston, you may have your VIP Veterans Metro card, but if not, they can come to you and get that pass. And that will dovetail right into your Ride VMS program. Would you mind telling us a little bit more about that, please?
Well, that's a real exciting program that we initially started. Probably, I'm going to say just before Christmas, we decided to do a pilot program. So we've been talking to several veterans about working back, getting to work and back on time. And we were finding out that, veterans were having a hard time with transportation pretty much. And we knew back in 2017, there was a rideshare program, an Army veteran who initiated this type of program. And it was to get them back and forth to work. We were finding that our veterans were riding the bus, but there was a problem with riding the bus, especially if it was raining real hard, or if it was snowing. Let's just say if we were in some snow. So we had a veteran who lived probably 15 minutes from work. But to ride the bus, that particular veteran had to ride 3 to 4 buses.
Oh,
And it
wow.
would take that veteran 2 to 3 hours to get to work. And then he had an 8-hour shift. And then he had to ride the bus 2 and 3 hours.
3 hours, Miss
Living
Gilbert.
only
I can make it to
15 minutes
Austin by
away.
then.
So, yes. And then you can imagine once he got to the bus stop and got off, that he had to walk to there because it didn't give a direct, it wasn't right in front of the building. So it was like, what can we do for our veterans? What we needed a niche. We didn't
Yes,
do
ma'am.
housing, we just referred for housing. So we didn't do that. So we were like, what else can we do? So we provided this pilot program where we partnered with Uber, and this is who we're using right now. And we're using some of our funding where we are paying for them to get to work and back home. And we're finding that it's working because they're getting to work. Employers are happy and they are happy. And we're doing it for 30 days. We're doing it as a pilot program, trying to get them on their feet for 30 days. Now, if they need a little bit longer and we still have some funding for that, then yes, we'll work with them on that. But that has been one of the huge breakthroughs with this, is using a program such as this, because they have transportation to the VA for medical appointments, but not to work. Even those veterans that we have working in the VA, they can't ride those buses or that transportation to come to work, but they can ride it for an appointment. And so we wanted to supply a need that was not in the city of Houston anywhere at this time. So that's what that is.
Miss Gilbert, I love this pilot program because it helps out so many people. It's not just the veteran, it helps their care provider and families out as well, but it helps the Uber driver, it helps the person that just hired them, helps take the flow off the city. I mean, so many different points of entry on this one. How does a veteran qualify for this?
Well, the veteran has to be working first of all. You have to have a job, and we've had to have verified that you've worked. We also check to see exactly how far you are from the particular employer.
Yes, ma'am.
So, since we are limited on our funds, we can't get you from Beaumont to Houston, or we can't get you from Dallas to Houston, although we will try to get you here if you're trying to get here to work. But what we do is we try to see how far you are from work, and we've been working with those veterans that have the issues that I just spoke of, where you're having to utilize the bus too much and not having enough time to get any rest
Yes, ma'am.
at all. So,
Excellent.
yeah.
And thank you so much for sharing that information.
You're welcome.
After the break, helping incarcerated and homeless veterans move forward.
Let's let Sam know about something even more urgent than his morning coffee.
Hey Sam, did you know it's kitten season? Right now, thousands of kittens are in shelters across the nation, and they're in need of love and care. If you foster a kitten, even for a week, you'll be giving them the chance to grow up and find families of their very own. What's in it for you? You'll get to start your day with a smile, and your social posts will be way cuter too. Save some tiny lives today. Visit bestfriends.org/kittens.
Anyone will tell you, battling cancer is not pretty, and neither are the complications you may not see coming, like lymphedema, LE for short, a chronic disease that can leave anyone undergoing cancer treatment with a lifetime of swelling and pain, often affecting one's entire body and sense of self. If you're facing a cancer diagnosis, discuss lymphedema with your doctor. With knowledge and action, we can learn and live.
Welcome back to the Veterans Voice. Providing homes and jobs to veterans is an important mission, but just as important is developing mental and emotional skills to stay employed and housed. We're joined by Valerie James, CEO and founder of VAST Texas. Valerie, welcome back to the show.
Hey, thank you, Tim. How you doing?
Oh my goodness, I'm doing so well, and it's great to see you because you bring such positive energy and you always bring resources. I love the connections that we've made outside of the main system, so the governmental system, all the
Mhm.
support that's there. Houston definitely is a crown jewel, that shining gem to help out veterans, and you've been a part of that process. So thanks for all you do. And you've got something that you've launched not too long ago that some people may not know about. So let's talk about VAST and what you provide.
Well, thank you, Tim. So VAST stands for Veteran Advocates Services and Training. We've been around since like about, I don't know, 2017. What we do is we currently working with over 500 incarcerated veterans and close to 800 who were previously homeless outside the jail. One of the things we do is we try to teach classes on emotional intelligence. Say, for instance, they're in jail, they're a captive audience, right?
Right. If you're going to Brothers in Arms or Stars and Stripes, you and I, we got them.
Yes, you've been there. You taught a
Yeah.
finance class.
With
Thank
you.
Yes. So we do teach things like how to make good decisions. And we actually teach a 6-month course that they graduate from that teaches about, emotional regulation, having empathy for others. We're pretty proud of that.
And you should be proud of it because when a veteran is homeless or incarcerated, it seems like you just took a piece of them away and you made them less than. That's not the case, because if you take $100 bill and you crumple it up, stomp it on the floor, run through the mud, it's still worth $100. However, our veterans, once they get into the system because they made a left when they should have made a right, now they don't know where to turn, but you help plug that stuff in. So you want to talk a little bit more about the incarcerated veterans or the homeless veterans?
Okay, so how about both?
Okay, let's do it.
When you in a time we'd hear things like the big three, severe mental illness, right? Bipolar, schizophrenia, major depression. I'm adding another category to that because I'm realizing there are millions of people, human beings, that they really haven't really developed past maybe 10 years old emotionally.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. The DSM, the Diagnostic Statistical Manual, the Bible of the Psychiatry, they actually took out a diagnosis that the Army created in 1945 called immature personality disorder. It
Okay.
has been listed in court cases. It's been listed in administration separations from the military, but no one's heard of it because it was removed in 1980.
And without that education, you don't know how to diagnose it or how to treat it. So once it's being diagnosed, how do we move forward?
Well, I think knowledge, right? What does G.I. Joe usually say?
Knowing is half the battle, right?
That's it. That's it. So we want to teach it. Cognitive behavioral therapy, just therapies to teach people this is why you're acting this way. Teach classes on emotional regulation. It'll stop people from making these decisions that land them in jail. And when they get in jail, that's when they realize, okay, I shouldn't have punched that person out. That was not a good idea. Yeah, cursing out the landlord is not a great idea. I'm homeless yet again. Because what we keep finding is people handing out is VSOs, veteran service organizations. It's like we're handing out the fruit.
Mm-hmm.
We're handing out rent help. We're handing out all this help, but no one's getting to the root. We're handing the fruit without getting to the root.
Mm.
If you put it in the system and see how many times that veterans come up or their family come up homeless or come get needing help for this, and this, you start realizing what is it? What's going on here?
Right. And one time during the year when we have the stand down, that is a great resource for veterans and their family members to come to see what's there. But outside that, where do they get it? So a lot of homeless people even still have cell phones, but they're not plugged into the resources that they need. And I love that you have a no wrong door policy, because I've seen you take that veteran and be like, oh, this veteran definitely needs to get off the streets, but he or she will need financial coaching. They're going to need some food. Oh, and I got some babies. We got to take care of them. And so we've got just a few minutes left. If you would take us through how a veteran connects with you, and then if they need one of those dire services, what's the first step they need to take, Valerie?
So what they can do, I wish I could have plugged my email up. on the strain, but they can reach out to me at 832-212-5255. Because it's like you said, we don't just want to hand the resource. We give them a full package, like a concierge service, and then we stay with them. We've stayed with some up to 5 years.
Wow.
Just
Okay.
kind of keep them structured and on the right path.
You said right path, and I love that analogy, because when we get out of the military, you look to your left, look to your right, you're looking for your tribe because you lost a piece of your identity. You're looking for people that you can connect with and stay on that path. Sometimes it only takes that one person to get you off the path, and 5 degrees, not a big deal if you're just walking a couple blocks. But if you're going a few miles, you're going to wind up in Dallas instead of Austin, right?
That's right. That's why we also work when we get them better to become peer mentors, state certified, and then we put them back with that life experience back into the community, and then it's easier to guide others that way.
Okay, and you've also been very busy behind the scenes. You've been speaking in Texas and at our Capitol. Would you tell us a little bit about that, please?
Oh, wow, it blew me away. So the National Coalition of Homeless Veterans, they've been working with me whenever they get something in DC and they find out the person's in Houston. And they've been reaching out to me. This year at their annual conference, they requested me to come out and speak in Washington, DC at their annual conference in May. I'm like, oh.
And is that going to be televised, or are we going to see that after the fact?
It's going to be televised.
Okay.
What they're saying.
I'm definitely looking forward to that. And as somebody who needs the services, they're listening and they want to find out a little bit more. Do they just call you, Valerie, or is there a website they can go to? What would you recommend?
Sure. We have a website. It's pretty easy. It's www.vast.tx.org.
Okay, that is great. And I've seen you around at so many other places. So if a veteran is watching this for the first time and you're going through the mud and the muck, connect with Valerie James at VAST, and she'll plug into so many different resources. And just because you're not at that point of homelessness yet doesn't mean that you can't take this information. One, it will enrich your lives and those around you. But also now you've got your toolbox, your medical kit, if you will, coming from a combat medic, and you're going to be able to move forward and help out so many other people in the process. Valerie, I wish we had another hour just to go over this one, but I got to wrap it up today and tell everybody.
I appreciate you.
Yes, ma'am.
I appreciate you too.
And if you're listening or watching and you'd like more information on any of the organizations and services you've seen on the program today, visit our website at hccs.edu/VeteransVoice. An audio version of the show is also available on Apple Podcasts. Just search for the HCC TV Podcast Network and then bling, hit the subscribe button. For everyone here at HCC TV, thank you for joining us on the Veterans Voice.